why do you believe? Like, I'm sure there's a level of faith and wanting to believe and whatnot, but why?
Just why?
Yeah.
Should I go? Do you want to go first? Or should I go first?
Do you have an answer?
Oh, we're on focus. These are our microphones. Oh, dude, I have the best idea.
I should just shatter your computer screen.
This is good. Alrighty, guys. What's up? Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 75, and we are in a pretty interesting setting. None of us live here.
Nope.
This is an Airbnb.
No, we just found this house.
I think this is the first time I have two guests on the podcast. Although Gemma's not really a guest anymore since you've been on more than 2 times, so I don't know where the qualifications end there. But I'm going to introduce Dawson. I guess most people would probably consider you my best friend.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he considers himself my best friend, but
Do you consider him your best friend?
I hang out with him a lot, so
I'm glad that.
I think I have to say he's one of my
I'm
only
calling
friends.
Oh, nice. That's super sad.
And then we got Gemma again. We've done 2 episodes with Gemma. What do you feel about the podcast? Is it good? You happy you're on again?
I am. I love being on here. It's so fun. It's fun. It's a good time.
So Gemma's the mother of Josephine, and right now she's babysitting 2 more kids. So we've witnessed her having fun with that.
Oh yeah.
But how's life been?
Life's been good. Life has been crazy.
Yeah.
I'm in a very hard but fun, interesting place in life. Just a lot of discernment going on. A lot of figuring out the next step. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, if you guys want to learn more about Gemma's past, I think we'll talk about it a little bit more today. But Dawson is new. So we're going to dive deep into Dawson's story.
So excited. I have a story.
This is Joe. She currently has a diaper full of poop.
Not be in this.
Well, actually, before we dive into Dawson's story, I think we should all tell our favorite stories because we all went to school together at once upon a time, which was a very fun time in life, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys thought about that time, but I thought it was pretty great.
Quite a lot.
I missed that time.
We all went to this. I don't know, Dawson, explain what kind of school we were at.
So,
Can you give me some juice?
okay. It was a private school. We went 2 days a week, and then the rest was homeschooled. So,
What would you like better, the homeschooled or the? Oh, now I'll just drink that.
Yep.
That's great.
community juice. I liked the school better.
Nice.
The homeschooling was scary.
I don't know, I like the balance of it.
Sure.
I like the flexibility.
I like the weekends. Those were a lot of fun.
I always remember you being like the cool kid that had all
I'm
the
sorry,
things.
what?
Because you always had you had a MacBook, you had Xbox, because you had all your other siblings, so you had all this cool stuff.
This is true.
And then there was me with my dinky spring airsoft pistol.
And then there was me with neither.
Gemma was always the big family, so you guys were always a big posse of people
We were
that would show up to
we
school.
were half of the school.
Yeah. Half of the school relied on you guys to show up.
Serious. No. I miss that school. That was a good time.
Yeah, the first time I think I remember Gemma. Let me think. I think you were carrying, I don't know, the first vivid memory is you were carrying a boat that you made out of cardboard.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
Wow, a true artist.
That boat was incredible.
I think we were researching the navigation of the seas, finding the Americas and all that. Ponce de Leon and all that stuff. Dawson, any favorite memories, funny memories?
Funny memories? Favorite? I don't remember a lot of what happened there.
We know.
Yeah. The memory's fading. Yeah, I don't really have anything.
I just enjoyed a lot of our outside of school adventures.
Like what?
Like when we would go swim in the pond near your house.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. And apparently you can't swim there anymore. Or
Well, the sign's there, but you can...
has it always been there?
No, but we still do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
It's cold, though. Muddy. But
Just
it's fun.
I feel like we adventured a lot as kids.
Yeah, and then we would go into Aspen, just explore.
Exactly.
Dawson was really a part of that.
Yeah, I didn't
You
get
did
to
go
join to
Aspen.
any of this.
You were doing theater.
Yeah.
The theater
Yay.
kid, that's what Dawson
Oh
was.
my, that's so much more fun.
All right, so let's dive into your story more because I feel like a big part of it was theater.
What does that mean? My story.
I don't know, like, since you were born, things that have happened, the beginning, the end, the middle. The story's unfolding, Dawson.
Oh gosh. Did theater.
Why did you do theater, you think?
Because my mother wanted me to do theater. She says I enjoyed it, but I don't remember enjoying it.
Do you remember, like, gaining anything from it? Or, I mean, if you probably did, but,
I
like...
got better at talking.
That's good.
Yeah. I remember the first play. It was horrible. They were like,
What's that, Oliver, though?
Yeah. Not the first school play. I guess the first
Okay.
play that I did.
With Soul
Not
Leader.
in school.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I hated it. They were like, talk louder, and I was like, I don't like it.
Nice.
So did that, and then stopped doing that, and then now here we are.
Me and Dawson are, I guess you would, business partners, I guess is what we are, really.
When did that start? I'm curious. Like, how did
Business
that?
stuff?
How
That's a
did you
good
both
question.
like find yourself in that field of work, and ending up working together?
Yeah. I feel like it was a really smooth transition from just messing around to starting to make money with it.
Yeah.
Because, like, so Dawson's brother built drones.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so he knew about it. I think I built the first one out of us two.
You did. Yep, you beat me.
And then, but you already knew kind of what it was, and then you started building them.
Yep.
And then we would just fly them together. And then, I don't know, we were both really creative from the beginning. I feel like we were always drawing. I remember us just like sitting at home and just drawing all the time.
That was
You
always
were
fun.
The best artist in the school. Your little fox cartoons on everything.
I do everything.
On everything.
They weren't even foxes, they were like my made up animal.
So fun.
Yeah. I remember one time Miss Smith walked me into, I don't think you were there, but she walked me over to like the older kids class to show them a drawing I did.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, you were really talented for what, second grader, third grader?
Yeah, I don't know. But we were in the same class for a while. You were ahead.
Was I?
I was held back, probably. What's the thing?
Oh, I didn't.
Because you used to be in a class. I was with
He was
Patch.
challenged.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was with like Davey and.
Yeah. You were
all
with the
those
older
people.
kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one we all came into one class.
I don't remember anything.
You remember Mr. Bohr?
Yeah, she was my favorite. she was awesome.
But anyway, we were in a Christian school.
Yeah.
Gemma's family is Catholic, but I feel like people don't really care as long as their kids go to a school that like acknowledges God exists. It's much better than like anything else.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, chapel was always a thing.
I remember chapel. I remember
Chapel
always
buddies.
being late to chapel. It's a problem.
Do you remember like believing in this stuff? That like people. I mean, people are always talking about Jesus and God and stuff.
What's your faith life like, Dawson? Like, how is it
So
evolved?
stressed out right now.
Oh gosh.
I mean, did you believe what they were talking about?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, at that age, like, there's no way you can't really. That's what everyone tells you, so you kind of like
Yeah.
go with it.
Of course.
The
Sheep.
The sheep.
Sheeple.
The sheep follow. I don't know. I feel like our schooling, it was a good balance of Christian doctrine, but then also just the normal topics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then Gemma's dad was the Latin teacher,
Yes, he was.
So fun.
Peter Howard.
Oh yeah.
I think he dubbed me Marcus. As far as we all got Latin names. Do you remember what yours was?
Dubbed you? I don't remember mine.
I think it was like Chalia or Chalia or
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was interesting. It was cool because, like, I mean, I don't know. I never really understood why we were learning Latin. Did you ever ask your dad why we learned Latin? I'm sure that has to.
No, but I feel like I know why.
Okay, why? Why?
Why?
Well,
We all want to
I
know.
think there's just a really great basis. Like a lot of English, a lot of other languages, like stemmed from a lot of like
Yeah.
Latin and Greek.
Root language.
And so, like, it's a dead language. Like, no one really speaks it anymore. But I think it's helpful just in the rest of life, like learning Spanish. It was
Yeah.
so much easier learning Spanish after learning some Latin because of all the similarities. And even just,
There's still a lot of like medicine and stuff named after a lot of things.
yeah.
So there's benefits. I don't know.
Yeah. I think everyone should try and learn a language.
Yeah.
Whether it's Latin, Spanish,
Yeah.
German.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Alright, let me show off.
Hey, I know that word too. That's a
That's a flashback to a different story for another day.
But yeah, how would you say like your guys' faith life has grown and evolved as you've gone from child and a family to teenager starting to figure out who you are as a person to now an adult where you really get to drive and control like the level in which you immerse yourself or to
Yeah.
what you believe? How have you seen that? Like, has it stayed pretty consistent? Have you found that it's grown stronger or you question it more? Like, what does that look like coming, like starting as a child and now to where you are?
Yeah, I mean, obviously for me, I don't know. I feel like a lot of kids that go to a Christian school obviously are there because of their parents. And I think that environment can lead to a lot of they're raised thinking one thing and they're maybe not taught how to think for themselves. And then after they leave that like environment, they just kind of like figure out, oh, that was a bubble. This is the real world now, and I'm gonna believe in the science and things that are actually real. So that's a sad reality of a lot of, I think, what happens to a lot of kids these days. But for me, I think I was really, since I spent a lot of time at home, at school, but also in the real world, like I think my life was balanced as far as like what my things I like witnessed and saw and got to feel. So I think I had like a good foundation. So I'm obviously still Christian. But there is that point where you have to decide for yourself if you're doing it because of your family or if you're doing it because you actually believe it. And I think that point for me was probably like a little bit before I started the podcast, because I think the podcast was almost a sign to myself, like, okay, I really believe this. I'm going to keep pursuing this and I'm going to share my faith because I think it's important. So, yeah. I don't know. Dawson, what do you think? Just for everyone listening, Dawson usually doesn't talk about stuff like this, so this is very interesting for me.
No, I have not. I don't know. I feel like since school and since I was younger, it's potentially dwindled a little bit. There's a lot more opinions that everyone has and so many more options of beliefs, and everyone has a different view on everything, so it's something to think about for sure and look at.
I don't know, what other options do you think there is? Because like when you grow up, that's like the only thing you know is that, and your parents will be like, oh yeah, there's people that believe other things, but like you don't really think about it.
Yeah.
The reality world, there's obviously people that don't. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know those specific options. I just know there are more options. Yeah.
Do you care to research any of those options, or have you just not really put thought?
I haven't really put thought to it, or
that's what confuses me. Like,
effort,
why don't
but
people like? Why do you not think about it? Because I feel like that's such an important thing to think about. Because I feel like people's like your soul, like I don't know, if you die.
nice.
You want to know what happens, right? Or is it just like, I don't know. I find it hard how people push that off, but I know a lot of people do. And like, I'm not blaming you for doing that or anything, but like,
Just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I haven't put much thought into like if I was to die. I don't know. There's just not a ton of curiosity or anything.
interesting. What are your thoughts on that, Gemma?
What you just said?
What are your thoughts?
No, it's just like you asked the question,
Oh,
but
right.
to answer your question, I guess. Also, can I have some more juice?
Yeah.
Hot take.
I'll take with carrot juice.
Yes, please.
I think definitely like as a child, here comes my child. Actually. Speaking of children. Thank you.
Oh, got some zebras.
That's sticky.
It's a fruit leather. I think faith for me was a huge thing growing up. My dad is a theologian, which if you don't know what that is, pretty much you study like the faith.
Yeah.
And so from birth till now, like faith has been really important. Anyways, I think once I got into my mid-teens.
I know you always seemed as like kind of the rebellious type. I feel like.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see
I
it.
definitely was like. It was.
You see that, Joe?
it was hard
You
for
wanna
me
trade?
because I didn't like being told what to do, and a lot of what it felt like as a child was a lot of like, this is what you're doing, you don't have much of a choice, like we're going to church, we're praying the rosary every day, like it was very much like you are doing this, which now that I'm older I look back and I'm very grateful for that structure.
Discipline, yeah.
But definitely like getting into my teens and when I think the first time I moved away from home, I moved away for the summer, and that was the first time where I really had to like take myself to church and really choose to continue what I had been taught. And
Why'd you move away in the first place?
I got a nanny job.
Yeah.
So I spent the summer in Sedona, Arizona. Amazing place. So I had 2 months where I had my own apartment. I was doing my own thing. I was 16, and it was just, a great opportunity for me to be like, okay, do I actually believe what I was taught?
Yeah.
And I did pretty good. I remember a specific day where I was like, I'm not going to church today.
Mm-hmm.
And then through my more recent experiences, that's really when I've been like, okay, I 100% like, I believe.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
I think it's been a cool journey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, now that y'all know where we're at, Dawson, I think I want your perspective from this, because what have you noticed, like, from an outsider's not really worrying too much about religion per se? What has you seen as like the differences between like my church and non-denominational church versus a Catholic faith? I don't know.
It's different. I'd say if I was to go to your church, it's a lot more, just kind of go in, sit down, hang out.
Yeah.
And then a Catholic church, you're doing a lot more.
More structured.
Yeah, more structured. A lot more interactive, I'd say.
Okay.
Standing and the kneeling and the
Yeah.
responses.
Yeah.
So you took Dawson to church one time, right?
It's impressive.
I took him a couple times.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that?
It's good. I think it's...
Are you ever nervous taking like newcomers to Catholic church?
There's definitely a certain level of nervousness. Especially because there is that, like... I mean, I've been going to church since I was a child. And there's
Yeah.
like, everyone knows the responses in the church. And so when I bring someone else and I'm over here going like, you know, peace be with you, and reciting the creed, and the person that's with me is just kind of like... and I like...
That's exactly
You
what
want to follow along? Like it can be a little nerve-wracking, but it's also
any
cool.
tips for people trying to do that?
I think
Any advice?
like the Catholic Church is so different, but I just say like give it a shot. Like the first time you go, you're gonna be weirded out. You're gonna think it's long. You're gonna think it's probably boring. But I think the more you go, the more that you like. There's just a lot of aspects to it. So
You're saying like the more you understand, the more interesting
yeah,
it would.
like once you actually understand like why we're saying the things, there's like 3 parts of the mass. Like no, the person going there isn't gonna know that, but once you learn that, it's like it's just a really cool thing once you actually understand more. And yeah, I just wouldn't give it up if you've only been a couple times.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on going into like a Protestant church or a non-Catholic church? Like,
Yeah. I think it's fun. Like I've been to a Protestant church multiple times, and for me, it's personally felt like what I would do at like a youth group or like a youth. I don't know. Like there's a lot of praise and worship.
yeah.
It's definitely mellow. Like I remember going and seeing people like sipping coffee and, just doing their thing. And I was like, this is so different.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you experienced that?
Yeah. It was like 3 years ago, and it was just...
Really? 3 years ago? Is that most recent?
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay.
Maybe it was 4. But, yeah, because the guy I was dating at the time wasn't Catholic, and so...
You found a middle ground.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because we would go to Catholic church at 8:30, and then we'd go to Protestant church right after.
Oh, dang.
Wow.
It just is a lot more relaxed. Like, one thing I think that's a cool thing about the difference is, like, when I go to a Protestant church, it's very communal. It's very, like, let's talk. We're gonna, we're here to praise the Lord together. Whereas where you go into a Catholic church, there isn't that conversation, and there isn't that like super communal feeling, and it's more of like we're here to enter in, and it's more focusing on that individual relationship with the Lord. So I always leave Protestant church just pumped up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was awesome. That was fun.
Which is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing because sometimes
Yeah.
it is overdone in the sense
Yeah.
of we're using worldly things to hype people up and not actually feeling God's presence to hype people up.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the or the relationship with God. How does that look like in the Catholic faith? Because I'll just kind of show you from my perspective. Like, obviously, non-denominationals they're like, it's not about religion, it's about relationship, right? You hear that cliche a lot. Or it's more about, just like talking to God. And then when you think of Catholics, you're more like, okay, well, for them to talk to God, they have to go to a pope or something. Like, that's automatically kind of what you think. Is that a misinterpretation or a misconception?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to...
Yeah.
But yeah, there is this idea of like, because we so strongly believe in the saints and we have priests and we have things like the sacraments, there is this kind of, from an outside opinion, looks like, yeah, we have to go through all of these other people to get to Jesus. And like, that's, I would say, the complete opposite of what we believe. I think all of those, like the saints, the priests, like those are just all other ways that we can, but we still so strongly believe in that one-on-one relationship, which is why I think like Mass for us is so quiet and so not about like who you came with or like there's not a lot of conversing during it, because it's all like we're focused on Jesus, me as a person, like I'm taking this time to reflect, to enter in, to receive.
Okay,
so,
that's cool.
I don't know if that was helpful.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like when you go to the priest to confession, kind of make that a little more clear. I guess, what is that exactly?
So confession is kind of like you see in the movies. Like you go into this box or this room and you pretty much just confess the sins that you have committed. And the priest, like we believe, like the priest is acting in the place of God. Like it's not the priest who absolves our sins, it is Jesus. And I think one thing that, I don't know, I saw this on your other podcast where you were talking about like, what were you saying? You put it very well of, it's not by works that you get into heaven, it's by believing, but if you believe, your works will match your belief.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that us as Catholics we don't believe that faith alone is enough. Like we believe that there are certain things that have to be done. And one of them is being like having that opportunity to go in and kind of wipe the slate clean is a really special tool.
So why does because from our perspective, like Jesus does that. Like we can talk to Jesus, we can ask for his forgiveness directly. Are you saying you would not be able to receive forgiveness unless you go through the Pope for those sins?
And it's not going through the Pope.
Or sorry, through
a priest or
the
through
priest,
just the act of confession. That's where, and I am not speaking for all Catholics. I just have to throw that out there. This is
we're not
personal,
speaking
like,
for any particular. Yeah.
I just like, I think I would say like as a Catholic, I wouldn't like. I feel the need to go to confession for my sins to be forgiven.
Okay.
I think, like there is like, I feel like all the time I'm like, Lord, please forgive me for this. But there's something about like absolution and like we truly believe that like our slate is wiped clean. And so I don't know. I would say like I personally like I feel the need. Like for me, the way that I know that my sins have been forgiven is by going to confession.
Yeah. And like we don't honestly like our church. Thank you, Joe. Our church believes like you should talk about it, like not just keep it to yourself and you and God, but like it is a thing to, be accountable to each other and talk about it. It's just, I guess for you guys, it's more of specifically one person that you go to. But is it like in the Catholic doctrine, is it required to go to the priest? for forgiveness of sins?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any like Bible verses or anything that like would talk about that, you think?
That's a great question, to which I don't know off the top of my head.
So obviously none of us are theologians. So Gemma's probably
This is
gonna.
a little embarrassing. My dad's gonna watch this and be like, I failed as a father. Like, no, Dad, I listened, I promise.
That's also another question. Like, how similar are our Bibles? I mean, we always have a lot of the same books, but you guys have some different. Is it books added, taken away, or mix of both?
You guys took away the books.
What'd you do?
We do. We have a couple more books than you guys do.
Okay.
I think where it's like, I think based off of my brief 10-second scroll through Bible verses, there's a huge emphasis on like the importance to confess sins. Like everyone should confess their sins. And it specifically says like confess your sins to others.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before.
And I think there's an interesting distinction between Christians and Catholics that often gets heated. Is a lot of Christians are like, if it is not in the Bible, like you should not follow it. And us as Catholics is like there's like we follow sacred tradition. Like there's lots of different aspects. Like we 100% believe in the Bible. I mean, it's the Word of God. But that's not solely what we rely on. And there's.
So how can you trust to rely on the other sources?
I think that's where like our belief in the saints and things comes into play of we. Gemma. Wow, Gemma, you look great.
You've transitioned well.
She's an extrovert. Hey, Josephine, come sit with Mama. Can you come sit right here? Come sit right here, please.
I don't know how deep we want to dive into this stuff. I know we should probably all do more research before we try. We should have your dad on the podcast, so that's really what we should do.
That would be so fun.
Christian teens get roasted by...
My dad's intense too, so that would be... Oh my gosh, can we please do that?
That'd be so fun. Well, I say that. I don't know. I want to do it. I'm not sure if it'll be fun.
I could come be a helpful mediator.
Yeah, I'd like that. Coming up.
Coming to you soon. Catholics versus Christian, featuring theologian, Mariologist, Sheenologist, Peter Howard.
That's a thumbnail right there.
Yeah. I think, like, what's cool to draw away from this is, like, us three as individuals, like, we've all gone through different experiences. We've all been raised differently in the faith. But we all, I don't know where I was going.
We all find comfort in knowing that there is a God. I'm not sure about Dawson.
I don't know.
Since
You're
Dawson
friends with people like, that believe in the Lord. So.
I am friends with people that believe in the Lord. That's so observant of you.
I don't know. I think just living a life that knowing that things that we do matter and that there is a higher power. Like, Dawson, would you say you think, like, what are the chances? Is there a higher power or is it all randomness?
I think there's a higher power.
Yeah. So, automatically, by believing that, it's like you live a different kind of lifestyle than when you wouldn't. And I think that's why most people do believe in a higher power because, I mean, it's really hard not to.
Yeah.
Looking at all the facts. Then I think what we're trying to do is trying to narrow down, okay, there's a higher power. What are the steps? And this is what Mere Christianity does so well, I think, is like breaking down, okay, there's all these religions. So most people in the world believe in something. So automatically, if you don't believe in something, you're kind of the outcast or like the outsider on that.
Yeah.
And then most religions are, I mean, there's so many you can just automatically throw out just because they're very obviously created by men.
Religion of the flying spaghetti monster. It's real.
Next episode, Dawson has
Dawson has picked his.
What I really believe in.
And then just like, it's also really exciting to like look at the facts, look at people's testimonies, trying to connect the two, looking at the Word of God. And then once you get down to, okay, Christian, as you can see, there's like around, I think there's 45,000 Christian denominations. Like, so there's
a lot, yeah.
And the good thing is, like, you don't have to find the one that there isn't. I think our church, non-denominationals, like, we have errors in our doctrine. And I don't know, I mean, I think obviously Mormons and Latter-day Saints and also Catholics don't have everything correct. I think the stance from the Catholic position is they have everything correct. Is that right?
We believe, well, we're the only church that traces all the way back to St. Peter.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, like, I don't know.
What do you mean by traces?
Like, we, I don't know how to put this. Someone put this so well, and I tried to remember it.
And because Peter was essentially your first
Like,
pope
we
figure,
have,
right?
we're like, we believe in apostolic succession. Like, we believe the Catholic Church is started when Jesus said, like, you are Peter, and upon this rock I'll build my church, and he was the first pope. And then from Peter, it moved up. Like, the pope now is what is, I don't know.
What's the pope's job?
That's a great question. He's technically the Bishop of Rome, but he has this huge influential rule. He's like the
I mean,
president.
arguably one of the most powerful people in the world.
Yes. He plays a massive role. Like, he does, like, that's like the politics of the church.
Yeah.
Like, he's the president of the Catholic community. Like, we're the church, but he makes a lot of the decisions, a lot of the more like, oh, this is now going to happen, this is not, this is no longer acceptable, this is, oh, this guy did this, he's no longer allowed to receive communion. Like, he makes all of those executive decisions.
How does he gain, like, how's that power validated? Like, what does he go through to get to that position?
I mean, he was a priest at one point. Like, all priests, like, it goes through, like, you become a priest, then you become a bishop, then you become an archbishop, or maybe it's the other way around.
And that's through certain works done, or is that...
Yeah, there is a sense of, like, there's, like, I think you can apply. Like, there's a certain level of, like, this is these men's job.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, like, you know, you go to school, and then you graduate, and then you're seminary, and then you're a priest. Like, you go through all of these things, and then I think you can ask to become a bishop, and then you can be accepted or not, and then the Pope is voted on, kind of similar to, like, the president of everyone's in this room. And
Okay, so it's voted. So it's not like you guys sit around, like, something and, like... all of a sudden.
we don't have a say. Like,
Okay.
all of these bishops or cardinals, like, are in a room.
Do you vote for the bishops?
And then all the yes. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways. I'd say, I don't want to say what I was going to say. We're the one true church.
Well,
But-
regardless,
Yeah. Got up on a tangent.
we find comfort in the higher power.
Yeah. And it's
Summed
cool.
up.
Like, we're all in the part of our lives where we're taking responsibility in every aspect of our lives. Like, this is a time of discovery and of kind of getting to pick and choose what we put our faith in, what we want to stand by, what we value. I think it's cool that each of us are doing that in just such a different way, but at the same time in a very similar way of just,
Yeah.
you know,
It'll be exciting to see, like, look 5 years in the future.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where we're at. Dawson will be a spaghetti,
Eating spaghetti.
pastor.
Yes. Living the dream.
Dawson, do you think you live your life differently, believing in a higher power, or do you just kind of do what you want?
I can answer that question.
I don't think I live it differently, or I would live it differently. Either
Like,
way.
if you saw $100,000 sitting on the ground, and you know if you took it and stole it, no one would know, would you do it?
Well, would it just be there, like, with the sign saying, like, you can take this, or is this? someone's money?
from somebody.
Oh,
Like, it was just on the ground. Someone
just
lost
on the
it.
ground? Well, I would be like, well, this can't be real, and then I probably wouldn't.
Really?
Like, it's highly dependent. It's like in my mood for the day, you know. If I'm in a feverish mood,
Feverish. Why do you think you wouldn't take it?
because you'd be stealing it from someone.
Why
It's-
stealing bad,
it's-
Dawson?
It's not. It just never feels the same if you were to take something or do something
Than earning
if you didn't earn it.
Yeah.
I enjoy earning things a lot more than taking them or being,
All the free
being-
stuff. I'm just kidding.
being given them.
So would you say you don't like swag?
I love swag. I like to acquire swag by myself, though.
You still have to earn your swag, though. You
I
know?
would love to earn my swag.
You gotta walk around, grab stuff from the booths.
I know what we should talk about.
But I think that boils down to morality, which we've talked a lot about on the podcast recently, which God has put in us. The law is written on their hearts. So there you go. What was the topic?
Yeah, Gemma, what do you want to talk about?
I think it would be cool to talk about, like, as teens, well, 20-year-old in the world. Old man. Like, what are things, like, with the the morals that we have, like, what are things that are really hard for us in this society? Like, what are the things that we struggle with that we see as, like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a lot, like, we live in a world that is so divided, and it's all about do what you want, and it's really, speaking personally, there's a lot of temptations, and there's a lot of just,
Distractions. And...
yeah, like, what are those? Like, let's get personal,
Yeah, I think the biggest one is probably, like you were talking about, like, doing things for yourself and gaining things for yourself. And we just talked about that, take the money, like, we have our morality to kind of steer us clear, but then there's the world being like, do the other thing. So just always, because you can even do this in like a Christian environment, like, okay, I'm going to go to church today, not because I really believe in God, but because I want to I want to have a certain persona around me that gives me an advantage in the world. Because like, being in I think a lot of people don't realize, but like, being in a Christian community is pretty amazing. Because there's so many people eager to help. There's so many people, and I think a lot of people, I hope not in the church I go to, but I think a lot of people associate with that religion or associate with that to benefit themselves in the other ways. And I don't think I struggle with that. So I don't know where I'm going with this really. Like following God's will or my will, I think is the biggest thing.
I think like
Talking about something specific, Gemma?
I just think it would be cool to be specific. Like, I think, I don't know. You do what you want.
No, I think like, so to narrow down from that broader perspective, fake crying to smiling.
Josephine.
So like recently, I've decided I want to go to South Africa. So I know I want to go, but does God want me to go? Is the question I've been asking myself. And so it's like, okay, I really want to do something. And if God says no, will I listen to that? I'm not saying God has said no to go to South Africa, but like in other situations in my life, like do I have enough faith to overcome that of denying my own wants and needs to do what God's will is? So I think that's one thing that I probably struggle with quite a bit. Because it's in every situation you make.
Yeah.
It's like, is this what I want to do, or is this something God would want me to do? So.
And not making the what you have to do, saying, "Oh, I'm feeling the Lord telling me to go to," you know, like it's really easy to, "Oh, I think you know."
I feel called to go to South Africa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of animals over there that really need to be captured, and I need to capture that creation. Just.
Yeah. This question's so much easier to ask than answer. I think it's really easy for me to watch movies and watch TV shows and just see like that like there is something to instant like gratification, to just giving in to whatever you want in the moment, like to just do it. And I think like based off my own life experiences, like there's just things that are like, I think it's constantly like everyone says it's so good. And I think living a life that I do surrounded by the people that I'm with, like it was just so not what everyone else is doing. And I think that's just a struggle to not be like, feels good, might as well do it.
Yeah. Because there is happiness in things that we know we're not supposed to do. It's just temporary. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So, and in the long run, it probably hurts you more than it benefits you. Nice. Well, Dawson has some questions for us.
Great. That was
Great. Can I get some water first? that was the question. That was the whole thing.
Now that you're hydrated, I'm excited. I love questions.
You love questions?
I really like yes.
Q&A with Dawson.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, guys.
Wait, what's the format of this? You ask the question, we each have to answer.
I mean, I won't answer because it's not for me.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I guess each of you can answer how you wish. I don't know if you guys have talked about this on the podcast before.
Talked about everything on the podcast.
I'm excited.
Have you? Oh, okay. Why do you believe? Like, I'm sure there's a level of faith and wanting to believe and whatnot, but why?
Just why?
Yeah.
Should I go? Do you want to go first? Or should I go first?
Do you have an answer?
And then
I
after
hope
that,
so.
I have a question.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Why do I believe? I don't believe because I want to. I believe because there's way more evidence, in my opinion, than there is to believe than to not believe.
Mm-hmm.
Both on a scientific level, on a physical, how I observe the world level, and then also on a spiritual feeling, which is probably like people could be like, well, that doesn't count. But
Sure.
when you look at DNA, when you look at this world, you can see a few things. One is that it's designed. It's almost, I mean, you could look at something like a house and no one in their right mind would be like, well, random chance created that.
Yeah.
And so when you look at everything around us, there's a creator, I think. It's just too complex to be random and happen out of nothing. But then I guess more specifically, why do I believe in Christianity?
That was my follow-up question.
It's because it's the only religion, it's the only faith that, okay, maybe this is a better answer. It's the only religion that once you believe it, it's not really a religion, it's a relationship. And
It's a lifestyle.
it's a lifestyle, baby. You look at all the other religions and they're all works-based, right? You have to do this thing in order to receive grace, forgiveness, or just to be acknowledged by a god or the god, depending on what religion it is. Where Christianity is the only one where you do it, where you were saved by the Creator, and it's not really you save yourself. And so that makes it unique. Doesn't make it true, right? So I guess it's the one out of a lot that is different. And it's the only, if you really think about it, it's the only one that makes it possible to be saved. Because all the other ones, you either have to be perfect, which is impossible. So, I don't know. I guess that's the short answer. If you want to know more, listen to every episode ever on the podcast
Yeah.
to understand my
dive in.
full thoughts. I don't know. Do you think that?
Yeah, I guess
Answered
if that's what you wanted to say.
Dang, I
that
feel
works.
like I really did a great job there.
Do you think if you were raised in a different religion, you would have said what you just said about that?
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like, if I was raised in a Muslim community, would I be a hardcore Muslim flying planes into things?
Hardcore. Heck yeah.
And I think I'd like to think that my brain and my soul is wise enough. And like I've looked at Christianity with like a critical eye, you could say, and I think I would do the same if I was in a Muslim community. But I don't know. I don't know if I would be Muslim or not, because the truth is like they're pretty parallel up to a certain point. Like they believe the same thing. They're both Abrahamic religions, and so there's truth in both of them. All religions have truth to a certain point, right? But so I guess the answer is I don't know, but I'd like to think that I would find the ultimate truth. And I'm still pursuing the ultimate truth. Like I'm not saying everything I believe right now I know is ultimate truth. I'm still trying to figure out what those things are. And I'm confident, or I'm willing to deny things I believe now if I find reason to believe other things more. But I'm very confident in like the basis. I guess I'm talking more about the
Yeah.
misconceptions or opinions around certain things. So
Good answer. Good question.
Great. Thank you. Gemma? Would you care to answer?
I would love to
she
answer
has to
this.
answer. This is the form.
I think you answered the first part of that question really well, and I kind of second that. Of like, there's just so much proof, in my opinion, that there is a God, and I think, like specifically as a Catholic, like it makes sense to me. There's just a lot of things, like, when I just look practically, logically, I'm like, this makes sense, which helps. And also, like, I feel like I just have, as a person, have experienced things where I'm like, there's no way that I'm making this up, that this is just my emotions, or, like, I just truly feel, part of it does come down to feeling like I feel like it's the right thing to believe in, and I feel like I see evidence of that everywhere.
That's where Dawson's second question was very valid, because
Yeah.
a Mormon or a atheist, or like an atheist or a Jew would say the same thing. Like, I just really feel like it's the right thing, and using that as
and that's where
which like, I think they can have spirit. I'm not like saying a Mormon or a Catholic or a normal Christian can't all have true connections and like spiritual experiences. Maybe they're misinterpreted. But it does go down to like digging down to what the truth is.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, it's really nice for me to feel confident just in like the basics of Catholicism, basics of Christianity, of like, this makes sense. There's historical, there's scientific, there's a lot of evidence that points towards not only a God, but that Jesus existed and that he was on this earth, that there was a resurrection, that there's like all these things like that. In times of doubt, there's a lot of just things to go back to, I feel like.
I think there's no one that's not delusional that wouldn't say a man named Jesus didn't exist on the world around, 10 to whatever, like BC or AD. So there was a man named Jesus. He lived on this world. He proclaimed to be God, and he was crucified on a cross. Like, that's pretty factual. So there's a few choices you can decide. He was either a crazy guy, a lunatic, didn't know what he was talking about. So essentially just a dude waltzing around in Jerusalem. Or he was God, because you can't really make the argument, oh, he was just a good teacher, like, because the things he said weren't saying he was a good teacher, it was saying he was God. He was part of the Trinity. He was the Son of God. So,
and I think there's just this aspect, I saw this on a TikTok, of like, it's called belief for a reason. Like, you can't believe in something that you know, because at that point, like, that's true. Like, belief requires a certain level of trust. And there is a certain aspect of like, why do you believe? And it's like, I don't know. I believe, and I believe that this is what is right and true and good. And I don't have all the answers or all the specifics or this, like, there's just a lot of trust. And
I think you're right, but I would attribute that word more to faith. Faith is more of,
well, like, in the context of the question of like, why do you believe what you do?
Yeah.
Well, I
like,
believe because, but yeah, faith, there's a certain,
because Jesus said, blessed are those who believe without seeing. So I think belief is almost, in a sense.
No, I agree.
Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah. Go on.
I don't know, it just comes out of vocabulary at that point. And then also, like, the people that did see Jesus walking on the ground and saw him, like, there's over 500 eyewitnesses that saw him after he died and came back. And all of his disciples died, like, historically died, believing that he came back from the dead and not denying it. And so when you, like, okay, there's 12 people, not all of them died. I think it was 11 or 10 of them died a dramatic death.
Martyred.
But, like, they died for something. If it was fake, they died believing in something that was fake and died for that. So I think that's a pretty powerful point.
Yeah.
All right, next question, Dawson.
No, that was it.
2 questions.
That was it?
2 deep questions.
I mean, those were deep questions. I feel like that was pretty good. Maybe I'll come up with more if we keep talking.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I have a question for you.
All right, we each get one question.
You each
and then we
get
end the
one question.
podcast.
Okay. Great.
No.
You go first.
Yeah, Gemma, let's hear your question.
She's got to think about this because she only got one shot.
Yeah, take your time. No
Can I
rush.
ask some clarifying questions really quick?
Clarifying questions?
Like, you believe in higher power, but you don't necessarily believe in God.
Sure.
Wait, do you believe in a god or high power? Is there a difference there? This is not my question, by the way.
No.
There's not a difference, or you don't believe in a God?
I don't think there's a difference. Well,
So he believes-
a higher power, God.
Same thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you believe in God, but you believe in a God. You don't know what God you believe in. Is that...
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this
Isn't that
question. I
fun?
think the question I'm trying to get to is like, what would it... Like, do you not believe because you need convinced? Like, what would it take for you to be like, I'm actively going to pursue Christianity, or I'm actively going to, like, I'm going to say that this is what I believe in? Does that make sense?
I guess so. Like, what would make me believe in it?
Yeah.
I have no clue. It's unfortunate.
Like, I don't think this is harsh to say. Like, you don't seem to be pursuing it. Like, this isn't something you're actively seem to be like, I'm trying to find answers to, is there a God, or who, am I false in that? Like,
No.
No?
Yeah, you're right.
So, like, if you're not doing that, then are you waiting for, like, a sign? Are you waiting for someone to prove to you that, like, what would it take for you to...
I don't know.
We need to simulate
I've never really thought about it.
a life or death situation.
A life or death
Prank
situation.
you thinking you're...
Prank
Yes.
me? It's just a prank, bro.
We don't actually want to hit you with the car.
But now do you think about things differently?
Like, I feel like... I don't know how to say this without being mean.
Without being mean?
As in, like...
Gemma,
Okay.
ruthless. I want ruthlessness. I want heat on this podcast.
Yeah, come on.
Like, do
I want
you...
friendships broken.
Give it life.
Okay,
kidding,
well,
just
like, do you just see yourself kind of just living the way you do, in the sense of, like, just kind of like, I don't know, I'm not, and not a search? Or you just kind of like, that's where it's like,
Going with the flow, kind of.
I don't know if going with the flow, but just kind of being like if you're not going to put in the effort, but you're not going to, I don't know, like, if you're not asking necessarily the questions, you're not seeking, you're not looking.
Sure.
So do you just see yourself living that way, and then if you just happen to see Jesus or something were to happen, you know, like, you'd be like, oh, I believe? Or is this something that, like, you want to pursue but don't know how to? Like, I'm just curious, like, where do you see your faith life going in the future?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know what I want. It's like sandwiches. I just can't choose.
I guess my question is the same. Do you want to believe in God?
I guess so. I mean, I'd say that I believe in God and that he exists because that's how I was raised. And
Yeah.
I
You're
accepted
baptized
him, and
Yeah.
I was baptized, and I...
in my pond. Pretty
Yeah.
sick.
It's cold,
Really?
dude. Yeah.
Cool.
Not sure if that's allowed. It's debate.
No, it's me.
Okay, cool.
I think all of that. Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily call myself a Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a Christian, or is that something? Because I feel like there's a difference between wanting to be something and then almost being like, okay, I don't really want to associate with this thing, so I can, I don't know. It's
Yeah. I don't think association is a big problem for me. Like
We're pretty cool.
Yeah, okay. I won't. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying. What was I saying?
Great question.
Great question. Great question. Believe in God. Not a Christian.
Do you want to be?
I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, yeah. But then I go to church and I'm like, well, it's all a bit silly.
Well,
That's an
I
interesting
think
point. Man, let's just
that's what
go down that rabbit hole.
that's what most people make the mistake of. Okay, do I follow this? And then they follow the people that say they believe in something, and they don't follow the actual source. Because if you just look at a church, and you take a deep look into the people's lives there, everyone's messed up. No one is truly living out what they believe all the time. And so when you put your faith in the people that believe in something, you're going to be disappointed. And that's why there's so much hypocrisy, and that's why it's a big problem. But when you look at Jesus and follow him, then it's not cringy. It's not weird or strange. Yeah. I'm sure a black pastor said that before with like a really convicted a bunch of people.
Probably.
Well, I feel like that's the best answer I'm gonna get. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah. You guys have the same question?
Yeah. Maybe one year we'll do a follow up. We'll see what Dawson's turned into, what we've turned into.
A lot of.
Pretty certain I'll be the same person, but we'll see.
oh, that's fine.
Imagine we're just all atheists. So sad.
Fire starters for nothing.
It went downhill real quick, guys.
Our stars for vanity. Nah.
Cool. This was a.
This was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. This question should evoke some questions from the audience, so leave those down below for an upcoming episode.
Great.
But podcasts are going to be looking more like this because I'm going to be flying around places. So no podcast studio, but we got these two beautiful little mics, so we can go anywhere we want to.
Sounds good.
We'll find out. We've done one of these before in Switzerland, and it worked out pretty well.
Okay, cool.
So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next.
Bye.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. I have a friend in Jesus. Jesus is